Oh, goodness. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Take two of this live stream as the first one just completely crashed. I don't know whether to blame Prism Live Studio or the fact that my VPN was on. And so apparently live streaming and VPNs don't work well together, but that just seems weird to me because one would think that would be a kind of important feature to work. I don't know. Maybe it's a VPN with YouTube thing. Maybe it's a VPN with the other services thing. I am not quite sure. But with that being said, the VPN is now off and things seem to be working okay. If anyone is an expert when it comes to VPN stuff, please do let me know. But anyway, welcome back, everybody, to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic, and this is episode 520 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight I'm going to give my thoughts on a couple of movies that I got to see this past weekend, including the new documentary, Am I a Racist?, which just, again, every time you say that phrase as the title of the film, it just brings all kinds of things to the forefront where it's like, why are you asking that question? Why do you keep asking that question? Kind of wish they had a slightly different name for the film, but hey, it is the name that it is. And I also got to see Speak No Evil last night, which I also have a lot of thoughts on as well. Before going any further, though, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button over on Odyssey, and smash the rumble button as well. And let's go ahead and say hello to the people in the chat. If your comments were in the last chat, I am sorry. They have not been saved. Snorterpoopus Cuber, hello. What's going on, good sir? I know that at one point you said, hello, humans and other quitters, so hello to you, Snorterpoopus. We got Mr. Wingster in the chat as well. Hail to you, Mr. Wingster. And in fact, I think I do have some of the older comments, at least on this newer stream. So let me see if I can actually pull that up real quick, because there's some fun ones in there for sure. So let's see. Mr. Wingster saying, that was a great stream, Odin, keep them coming. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, 50% King is here, and I saw that you did post another 50% review over on Critic List, Gary. You drive me crazy with your 50s. Can you make it like a 51 or a 52 or a 49? There is a range of what you can do. I know you can do it. I've seen you do it before. On almost every other set of 10, you find a way to have some nuance in your scoring. But that 50% range, not nearly as much. There's the Hello Humans and Other Quitters. What's up, that Snorterpoopus? Thanatos Felicitas says, that stream moved me, says Thanatos Felicitas. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Prince Screen hanging out in the chat. Rob D, we are back. Indeed. Justice E. Hale, happy to have the stream back on track. Me as well. What happened earlier? Hopefully what I've just mentioned explains. Explain. The man with the orange hat saying, I have an axe. If you behave, I will use it. Keep it PG-13, and we got no problem. No spamming. No excessive random crap. Indeed. Mr. Wingster, I like that the stream title is the same as last week. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Mr. Wingster. Always drive me crazy. I really hope that it isn't the same. I really hope that mistake didn't happen. Ambrose Chamberpot, what's going on? 13, Twisted Reality 13. What's going on, Twisted Reality? Hope everyone is having a good day. Hail to you. Glad to see you in the chat. We got Lex Ladendi hanging out in the chat as well. And yes, thank you all for being here. All right, now I can get back into my studio. There is Lex Ladendi's last comment. Hardwick saying VPNs can be finicky. Yeah, I recently switched over. I had been using ExpressVPN forever. I never had any issues with it, but I did feel that the rate that you paid for it was really not worth what you got. So I recently have now gone into the Proton ecosystem because they've got Proton Drive, Proton VPN, tons of other things. And you can, spend for the yearly rate, spend under $10 a month, and you get all the things with a VPN that I was already getting with ExpressVPN, but also less, but also getting 200 gigs of Proton Drive and other things too. So yeah, I think that was definitely well worth it, at least for the VPN itself. Let's see. Mr. Winking says, well, Odin, as I can confirm, I'm more black than Tina. I cannot be racist. Oh, well. Cthulhu, hello, Odin in chat. Wish you all a great Monday. Happy Monday to you. It would have been happier had the stream gotten off to a good start. As you all know, it drives me crazy when I cannot be in control of that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm always very specific with how that one thing's done. But anyway. Let's see. Kink and Rumsky saying, cannot believe you missed my last comment. It was the best comment I ever made. I'm so sorry, Kink and Rumsky. I wish that I could say otherwise. Maybe I can find it on the old because I do have the same Stream Ninja thing up. So let me see. It looks like it may have been over here somewhere. Let me see. It just says, Kink and Rumsky, Trouble on Rumble tonight. I saw that. And then Hang Tough. So if it wasn't one of those, then I don't know what it is. But I can get rid of that window now and jump over here. Carl Jacobs saying, hello, Odin in chat. Wife unit is recovering from surgery, so life is chaos. Wives is so much trouble. Carl Jacobs, well, I hope the wifey is okay. Surgery is never something to play around with. So yeah. Prayers going her way. Laura, the Mother Major General, shorty short. I'll never forget Beetlejuice movie, forgetting that stupid Left My Cake Out in the Rain Diana Ross song stuck in my head. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, Laura. And I put this in the what's it called? The water cooler. I was gonna say the beer cooler for some reason. I'm like, I don't think that's what it's called. So the water cooler section on Critic List over for Beetlejuice, I put a link to the song that I thought of, because it's funny, I actually did not learn that song from the original or from any of those variations. I first heard that song in the Weird Al Yankovic version of that song that he did called Jurassic Park. And oh man, the entire music video is done with like claymation, and it's brilliant. But what I thought was the funniest part about that in Beetlejuice, it's one of the very few funny parts to me in Beetlejuice, is the fact that I actually got to listen to the real lyrics. And oh man, like the the lyrics are so insane. I honestly cannot believe that a song like that about that topic was actually written. Yeah, MacArthur Park was the actual song name. It's just kind of crazy. Seriously. Oh man. But like, he's freaking out over a cake. I love it. Mr. Winkster, proton is the atomic mass of the cell. Science. Yeah, science. It's definitely not those electrons, that's for sure. Prince Green does say the stream crashing is your punishment for not watching the Meg 2. No, do not give any fuel for the King Kane Rumsky party, okay? He's banished over on Rumble, where he must be in isolation most times. By the way, Scott McKenzie, I did see that you have become a member now for 27 months in a row. So Scott McKenzie, thank you for being a member for so long. Over 2 years membership for Scott McKenzie. And Mr. Winkster has been a member for 11 months in a row. This is the most consistent thing you've ever done, Mr. Winkster. I'm proud of you. You're almost at a year, Mr. Winkster. I'm so proud. Let's see. Laura saying, I solved world hunger and posted it on the dead stream. Gone forever now. I don't think that I can take it because dang it. Let's see, Rob D. I think The Crow is already completely out of theaters. Only 2 weeks in theaters. Is that a new record? I don't know if it's a new record necessarily, because we also have other films that... Oh, man, did this film actually... Yeah, it did. Do you remember when the American Society of Magical You-Know-Whats came out in theaters back in, January, February? Wasn't it, like, early this year? I cannot believe that was a 2024 release, but I'm pretty sure it was. That film also had a very, very quick release. But yes, The Crow is going to be one of the fastest. No doubt about it. No doubt about it whatsoever. Laura saying, yeah, that song is MacArthur Park. I think the cake destruction was about regret somehow. It was the disco era, lots of drugs being taken. Oh, yes, I'm sure there's a deeper message to it. But it doesn't change the fact that it's hilarious to listen to someone screaming, oh no, about a cake being caught in the rain. I don't know. I was laughing. I was laughing quite a bit. Your average patriot nerd. What's up, brother? Welcome. Thanks for being a member for 23 months in a row. Legend, bro. Thank you. For those that are members here on the YouTube channel, make sure to check out the community tab where you get access to exclusive podcast episodes that I do. More recently, several episodes being with the lovely Michelle of Force of Light Entertainment. So if you want to see more extra content featuring Michelle, check that out. Also, older episodes featuring my old partner in crime, John Flickinger, and a plethora of other guests. Carl Jacobs, MacArthur Park is one of the nominees for worst song ever written. You might say that. I would argue it's probably the greatest song that's ever been written, just purely out of trollery. Mr. Wingster, you can be proud. You can be the proud dad I never had because he left to get cigarettes. Oh no, Mr. Wingster. I'll treat you better, man. I'll treat you better. I can do that for you. I can fix you, Mr. Wingster. That's what I say to myself every time you're in stream. Like, I can fix him. Kick it, Rumsky. LOL, I agree with Prince Screen and hope he adds Meg 2 to the list of movies you should watch over on a critic list. No, please don't. Orange at Odin, I heard lefties threaten theaters with violence to get Embajadistas taken out of running in California. Party of tolerance, my booty. Yeah, and I guess that kind of gets onto the topic because we're going to talk about my thoughts on the film, which, by the way, I just want to get on the outset because I think some people are taking my box office breakdown for this past weekend the wrong way. I thought the film was hilarious. I thought the film was very funny, very, very well done. I think that it makes a lot of very good points, very accurate points to boot. That all being said, I also do think that some of the backlash against it is ridiculous, but I also think some of the victim excuse stuff is also a bit old. And this has been my MO for a long time, okay? Whenever you have any movie whatsoever, whether it's a independent production company, whether it is a conservative media production company, whether it's a mainstream Hollywood liberal production company, I don't care, right? When it comes to the politics of the people behind it, I don't care. All I care about is numbers, data, and being realistic, okay? So when I see a lot of these stories coming out, and to be honest, the only that I've seen be confirmed, I have not been on social media today as much, but over the weekend, I believe it was only like a handful, like one explicitly that was mentioned by Matt Walsh, and maybe a couple of others where they actually canceled the showings they initially intended to show at the theater. So there was no reporting of there being mass cancellations of entire theaters across the country. So for a few theaters, and it sounds like maybe in California was one of them, one of the locations where this happened, I can't say I'm that surprised, right? It's ridiculous that they would even do that, right? It's ridiculous for them to do that. But I think that it creates this false perception that there's just mass campaign to destroy this movie. And I don't think there's much there. I can speak to my own personal experience. I saw the film opening night on Thursday. There was about 20 people in my screen. And really the only bad thing that happened was I had a bunch of people who were younger. Interestingly enough, I think it was like college-age kids in my theater who were watching it to enjoy it, but they were also college-age kids who clearly hadn't been to the movies in a long time because they were like talking and doing that normal thing. But it was not in we're trying to disrupt you. You know, we're not trying to disrupt this specific movie. It was more of the, oh yeah, we're kids and we've lost the ability to stay quiet in movies. This is the unfortunate thing that's happened in a plethora of films, regardless of what they are. But other than that, no issues at all. No AC. I remember this happened. Was it when Sound of Freedom came out? There was all these like stories and accounts of like, oh man, they turned off the air conditioning in this theater. It's like, look, I'm not saying those things didn't happen ever, but to say that there's this widespread conspiracy that has impacted, millions and millions of people is just not accurate. Okay. And I did some math on this. All right. And you all know, all right, when it comes down to it, I'm going to lay it to you straight. Because ultimately,
time to see a real mathematician at work.
It's time for some math, okay? So the opening weekend for Am I Racist? And we'll do a fuller breakdown later, but I wanted to get this point out while it's fresh in my mind. The opening weekend actually ended up getting estimated down. So coming out of the weekend, it was $4.75 million for Am I Racist, which pretty solid number for a documentary film. It's a lot lower than the projections. This is where the underperforming comes into play. But for context, average ticket prices today are about $13 to $14. So that means only 345,000 people actually went to go see the movie. Now, that sounds fine, I guess, but when you remember that they've got over 1 million subscribers on their platform, and there's millions more who watch their YouTube channel and watch their content through other means, right? 345,000 isn't a whole lot, just as an actual number. And again, we'll go further into it. There's obviously a lot more to break down there, but the main point of it is this, is that I do think that to try to claim that there is a massive widespread attempt to silence the movie, I don't think has been proven to be true. Are there rare cases here and there that we've seen evidence of, yeah, it definitely seems that way. The fact that there was a theater that we had, an image of the message that they sent, right, confirming they had canceled their showings of the film because of backlash. And again, it's ridiculous. I don't think it's good for anyone to do that. But again, to try to turn it into something bigger than what it actually is, that's what I have a problem with. All right, because it's whenever we go down that disingenuous rabbit hole of, oh man, they're ruining the theaters and they're doing this or doing that. It's like, it reminds me of the Disney's buying out all the seats argument, right? Remember how when Captain Marvel came out, when all these other ones were like, man, Disney's just buying up all these seats, even though there was never a single drop of evidence that was actually happening. Wouldn't surprise any of us if they did do that because they're a terrible corporation, but there was never any actual evidence. Most of the evidence, quote unquote evidence that was brought forward was easily explained away by anyone who's ever worked at a movie theater before. But that's what this stuff is kind of starting to remind me of. And it just, as you all know, grinds my gears quite a bit. All right, let's get into some more comments and then we'll jump fully into my thoughts on these two movies. So we got Shorty Short saying Twisters must be making money. It was still in theaters Sunday. Yeah, I mean, it's made more money down the line. I mentioned before, its budget is what's going to keep it from making any net profits theatrically, but it's definitely making money post-theatrically. It's just, it got way more attention than anyone thought possible, and Lord knows there's a lot of people that have been waiting for that film to drop on POV, on VOD, on streaming, and so I think that's also going to help it. Thanos Felicitas says, you should get Gary's clip of Eric July saying that title. Yeah, I could do that, for sure. I do prefer My Way as well, though. I think it has its own level of comedy. Laura says the over-smiling graphic on the Do the Work Workshop website was just hilarious. Yeah, the way in which they designed the different levels of, first off, like, what is your, like, racist scale? And then, yeah, the over-smiling was great, too, especially when you get to the very, very extreme smile. It's just amazing. It's amazing that they did that. It is. Shield of Megatron, welcome back. We got Prince Green just wondering what trailers showed with the Matt Walsh documentary. Were they more conservative or liberal based, or was it just mainstream stuff like Joker and such? I mean, I definitely felt like a lot of the trailers that I saw seemed to fit more with the type of audience that the movie was probably more so appealing to. There was Angel Studios film trailers. I think Bonhoeffer's trailer played before the movie. And there were a couple of others, too, from more independent production companies, a little bit more of a conservative bent to them. I can't honestly remember all the trailers that showed beforehand, though. So I think there probably were a couple of normal films, but it was about the same. As I said, right, based off of the evidence that I have, it does not seem likely that there was widespread disruption of these screenings. And again, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. That does not mean that there were not cases of it. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's, insane levels that I think some people are kind of indicating that it is. Kincaid and Rumsky, that's the stuff. Yeah, I got to it before. Any of y'all even had to say anything. Icthulu, hey now, I'm in full favor of mobs demanding the cancellation of Snow Not So White. Yes, but we're an online community of people who are willing to dislike a trailer that is objectively bad and not to actually call for any type of either violence or active campaigns, right? It's amazing how much we can do just because it's how we feel versus, hey, let's get this, AstroTurf movement going, which is oftentimes the case on a certain side. King and Rumsky saying, one thing's for sure, the Marvels is what happens when Disney does not buy tickets. Good grief. Okay, no. The Marvels is what happens when Captain Marvel, in the case of the Marvels rather, does not have a Avengers Endgame event film propping it up. We can go back and relitigate everything from why that movie made over $1 billion. It had nothing to do with the film itself. All right? There were a lot of conditions that led to its success. And it, again, also was not because Disney was buying tickets. Still no actual evidence that actually happened, okay? Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, so let's go ahead then and dive into some of our thoughts here. So first, I need to make sure I get the right window open because that would not be good if I did not get the right window open. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's do box office stuff first because I feel like that tends to be what more people have an interest in. And then towards the end, we will do reviews for the film Speak No Evil. Ooh, I've totally forgot I can do a review of Trap as well. Got to see Trap this weekend. I know everyone's excited. Everyone's so excited for Trap. And then we can also do one, of course, for Am I Racist? So, all right, let's get into our box office talk right here, okay? And because we've done it once, we'll do it twice. It's time now for a little bit more.
Time to see a real mathematician at work.
You are very, very welcome for that 2 times in one night. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. All right, so as you can see, this is the official weekend chart from this past weekend. Beetlejuice getting the $51.3 million in its second weekend. Very impressive. 54% hold in the week 2 drop. Speak No Evil opening to $11.3 million. Deadpool and Wolverine, the number 3 spot. And then right behind it, so interestingly enough, not as far separated as initially had been anticipated, Deadpool and Wolverine at $5.2 million. Am I Racist at $4.5 million. Now, in the case of both of them, I think both of them ended up trending downward from their initial projections. The point, though, is that Am I Racist initially going into the weekend was tracking towards a top 3 finish and only ended up at a top 4 finish. Now, top 4 finish for a documentary is normally something that we would say is an easy win. And I'm not trying to say it's not a win here in this case. The fact remains, though, we had a very weak weekend. Other than Beetlejuice, most of the films that either were new releases or holdovers from 8 weeks ago really weren't doing all that much. Essentially, there was not a whole lot of competition at the box office this weekend. And though, as you all know, competition does not really, give certain movies more or certain movies less. It does speak to the overall health of the box office, and also it does make a difference as far as what films are number 1, 2, or 3. If you're a number 1 movie in a weekend of having 3 films that are over $50 million in their debuts, that is impressive. When you are the number 4 movie on a weekend that overall is just very, very minimalistic, that's not nearly as impressive, okay? Again, that's not me trying to put the movie down for any reason. I love the movie. I thought the movie was hilarious. I'm just trying to be honest here with the actual numbers themselves. The other reason why, going back to my box office breakdown from the weekend where I said it was a disappointment in the numbers, that it underperformed was the words that I used there. Let me show you why that is the case. First, going over to Box Office Report. Remember, going into the weekend, it was being projected by Box Office Report that the film was set to make $7 million as a new release. Now, again, they're using their own metrics for this. Some of it was based on pre-sales, some of it was based on other things. But still, $7 million what was being projected. You then go to Box Office Theory. And remember, this is the one that had the initial projections at $8.2 million. Okay, that's very, very large, especially for a documentary coming out in 2024 from a company that has not had its full theatrical release yet, okay? $8.2 million. So when I see 8.2, 7 million being projected, and then the total ends up only being 4.5, hopefully you can see why I would argue that that is an underperformance. It's not speaking to the individual film as a film, or what maybe their anticipation was, or what they were expecting. In the case of Daily Wire Plus, what they were expecting the film to do. Whether the film did better than they expected or about as well as they expected, I honestly don't know. They have not actually been releasing any of that data. When it comes to these companies, they tend to try to, again, spin things as best they can. That's kind of the job of a lot of these production companies, of distribution companies. They want to make things seem better than what they are. But ultimately, whether or not this film is a success as far as what was expected to happen and what actually happened, if that's the metric that we're using, then this film is a bit of a letdown as far as the overall box office. Again, you're coming in about almost half of what was expected by Box Office Pro, and almost half of what was expected even by the likes of those at Box Office Report. Now, I did call out Box Office Pro because Box Office Pro didn't even have the movie on their list, was not even being talked about there. But remember, you had a top 3 finish going on in the case of both Box Office Report and Box Office Theory, and it was not in the top 3 discussion over on Box Office Pro. So, hey, maybe they were actually onto something, even just a little bit, though I would also just call them out for silly nonsense because everyone else was on a very similar track with it. That being said, it is a disappointment. It is underperforming when comparing it to what was expected for the box office in that specific instance. Now, we do, of course, have to put this within a full historical context because this is still when you look at all other documentary releases, looking specifically at domestic releases, this is actually in the top 10 biggest box office openings for documentaries. Now, I feel like I'm kind of getting into the weeds there a bit, right? I feel like I'm like Tony at Deadline, where it's like, okay, but if you look at all of the documentaries over the past 20 years, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but it is, I think, something still mentioning. So let's see if we can actually pull this up. Hopefully, y'all can see this. So I was able to ask, so for those who don't know, apparently Opera has their own AI chat assistant inside, built into the browser. If anyone's wondering, why does it look so different today? It's actually because I'm using Opera today, because I thought, why not? It looks very fancy, and it has a lot of things that I like about it, and also the fact that there's a free AI. I don't know. I think AI can be somewhat cool. I'm not like Shad, however, who's like in love with AI, but when it comes to making very quick charts, when I don't have a lot of time before show to do all the research with it and do all the adjustments for inflation, yeah, I'll take it. So here are the list of the top 20 highest grossing opening weekends. So these are films that had a domestic release, and these are films that were documentaries. So I'd forgotten that the Justin Bieber Never Say Never movie was actually a documentary of sorts, right? So when we think often about movie musicals or those things, right? We have the concert movies, as was the case with the Eras tour for, a certain singer who I just can't stand for a long time, have not been able to stand. But I forgot that Justin Bieber film actually apparently was also a documentary as well. So according to this charting here, so again, take it with a grain of salt, Justin Bieber, that film in the original opening was $29.5 million, adjusted for inflation, that's $40 million. So looking at just the top three here, you have actually Fahrenheit 9/11 from Michael Moore back in 2004. That film opened at $23.9 million back in 2004, which would be the equivalent of about $37 million according to 2023 estimates. Now, again, this is using the chatbot's algorithm, the chatbot's equation, which may not be the most accurate, but still, that is a pretty high number for a documentary. This is the standards by which we need to use to compare the release here. That's the only fair way we can do it, because we're talking about films that are in the same category. And in the case of a film like Fahrenheit 9/11, we're talking about a movie that is politically motivated. And even though I like and agree with much of what's being said in the film Am I Racist?, it is still, again, a much closer apple-to-apples comparison as far as just the kind of movie, kind of documentary style. So still nowhere close to that level of success. Then you get Michael Jackson's This Is It, $32 million adjusted for inflation. Earth from Disney Nature, $12.1 million adjusted. Katy Perry, Part of Me, $9.1 million. 2016, Obama's America. Right, I totally forgot about how many Dinesh D'Souza films have come out over the years. That film, $9.1 million. Sorry, $8.4 million. Oceans by Disney Nature, $8.2 million. By the way, pretty, very weird story, but my son loves it. The movie Sicko, this also by Michael Moore, $6.7 million. Religulous, this was the film by Bill Maher, I believe, $5 million. Born to be Wild 3D, $4.4 million. So it's not until you get down to 2011's Born to be Wild 3D, this is about monkeys, I believe, from Disney Nature, or at least in conjunction with them, where it's not until then that you get into the territory where the release of Am I Racist gets into it. Now, again, this is still putting the film then in contention to be in the top 10 best opening weekends for a documentary film domestically of all time, or at the very least based off of the metrics that we have here. And again, there very well could be a lot more. There very well could be a lot more interesting things going on. It's also important to note that when it comes to some of these releases, they had a limited release initially, and then got further released down the road. So I see, for instance, a film like Bowling for Columbine on here, and obviously we know that film ended up being pretty successful. Now, again, this is the metric that we have right here. So let me see if I can actually ask the chat, the AI, as it were. Let's have a little bit of an interaction here, okay? And if these are the numbers for the opening weekend, what then should a target total be for a movie like Am I Racist? So let's see. Highest. Let's see. Oh goodness. Am I taxing my computer too much? Are we going to have a crash? Oh boy, this is not a good sign. This is not a good sign at all. The fact that, I don't know if y'all can see this in real time, but oh man. Okay, so never mind. I'm not going to do that. The AI is not wanting me to ask it a question, apparently. I wonder if ChatGPT. Okay, maybe it's just Aria. Maybe Opera is just having a little bit of a hiccup there. So let's see. What are the highest grossing, Gorsing, documentary movies of all time adjusted for inflation. So let's see what we get here. So again, this first chart up here is just talking about opening weekends. And so again, framework is very important. So still, it is now a top 10 highest grossing opening weekend for a documentary film. No one can take that away from that. And that is still, on the surface, impressive, especially for a documentary made by a more conservative-minded person, and especially in the era that we live in today. It was very hard for them to get into those screens, right? They got into around 1,500 screens, and they had to fight for every single part of that release. They also were able to get around $3,000 per screen, which is a also very strong per theater ratio for it. But let's go ahead and look into it. So you look at the original gross of Fahrenheit 9/11, that film went on to make $224 million. And when you adjust for inflation, $343 million. March of the Penguins, $187 million when adjusted. Justin Bieber, Never Say Never, $131 million when adjusted. This Is It, $100 million when adjusted. Earth, $150. 2016, Obama's America. So a more conservative film, $42 million. So if we're looking more into similar audiences, right, maybe we could argue that 2016 Obama's America is a target for it of $42 million. But as I mentioned, right, when you look at just the numbers as they currently stand, I don't know if this film is going to have enough gas in the tank. And again, I think the film is great, but we do have to be realistic. Going back into some more, right? $103 million for Oceans, $35 million for Sicko. Bowling for Columbine, as I thought, right? $91 million when you adjust. Actually, I thought it was a lot more successful than that, but for the time especially, he made a lot of headwaves in the documentary space. There's just no denying that whatsoever. An Inconvenient Truth, $70 million, right? Crazy as that is. Then you get into films like Religulous at $17 million, Super Size Me at $32 million, Won't You Be My Neighbor at $23 million when you adjust for inflation. And so all of this is to say that whereas it is definitely worth crediting this movie for doing well, I think that it's important for us to always be realistic. I think that you're probably going to hear a lot of people saying, this was a top 4. This film made the top 5 this weekend. That's just impressive. It's like, but it's not really as impressive as you're making it out to be. Oh man, this made $4.5 million, which is the 10th highest opening in the history of documentary films. Okay, again, I think for your first release, that is something that you can run home with. But it's also still just numbers-wise also not nearly as impressive. So again, all this I think the reason why I'm getting so caught up on this is because these projections going into the weekend were just so much higher. And you all know, I'm all about, okay, what are the projections? What are the overall general sentiments going into the weekend? And then what is the actuality? And again, I don't think the film nearly performed as well as it could have. That doesn't mean that it's not doing well. And also, for the record, the film is set to make its money back. I do think that will happen. I think that the film will probably still be out in several theaters. I think that it's going to be shown a lot of love as well in the theaters that it is available in. But I also have to wonder if they maybe flubbed their release a bit because they did not do a day-and-date release on Daily Wire. I mean, I think that at least as someone who myself has a subscription, because I have subscriptions to basically all of the streaming services, I was a bit miffed when they kept pushing the theatrical release. They were like, theatrical, it's only being released in theaters. Like, okay, so what's the purpose of the subscription then? The understanding was that we would have early access to, instant access to this kind of content, and instead you're like, oh no, if you want to go actually see this movie first. And the other problem there is they didn't tell anybody when it would be released on Daily Wire. All they said is it's only going to be released in theaters first. We're not even going to talk about Daily Wire's release. We're not even going to mention when it's going to get released there because we're really pushing the theatrical. And again, I get why they're doing it. They're trying to make a statement. They're trying to get their name out there. They're trying to broaden things out. And hey, this is better than being behind the paywall like they were earlier. But the steps you have to go through to be more similar to what we see from some studios today is you got to go first. Okay, let's do a shared day and date release on Daily Wire. That way we are honoring our subscribers while also making it available theatrically. And then guess what? Then you do get more impressive because then you might actually still get in the millions of dollars in your opening weekend. And then you're doing that while splitting those revenues. So you're still making a splash, but then you're also keeping your subscribers happy. Whereas the alternative was, yeah, I'm sure if some people enjoyed going to see it in theaters. I know I did. But I also know if I didn't have an AMC A-list subscription and I was told, oh, wait, I have to actually pay more money to go see this movie when it should be on the service that I'm already paying for. Again, you see that happen with places like Apple TV and Amazon, right, where they have movies that they're going to be showing on their theaters, but those are much more established production companies, and so they can kind of do that, right? These are movies that they're ultimately financing or distributing and then bring onto the platforms after the fact. This is something where this is being made by Daily Wire directly, and so therefore it should be on there. What do y'all think, though? Am I going crazy here? Am I going crazy? Let's head back into the chat. Let's see. Prince Green, not really going to say much about the Matt Walsh movie since I don't want to get political because of future jobs and things, but they clearly aren't trying to shut it down. Even AMC played it. Yes. And I mentioned this again, right? Because there is this perception today about a modern conspiracy to shut down alternative voices, and yet I've already mentioned, remember Dinesh D'Souza and how prominent his movies were for a long time? He went very long in that game without being hindered whatsoever. Remember, he had that film called 2016 Obama's America that made a lot of money, that was shown in a lot of screens. So, obviously things have gotten a lot worse since 2016 when things really started going downhill. And a lot of times it became a lot harder for people to get movies out there for sure. But we have to also not forget our history either. All right. We can't forget the history of it either. All right, see here. Let's see. Cthulhu says, yes, double the memes, double the fun. Is Odin missing some of your comments, says Cthulhu? I don't know if I am. If I am, it's because of the technical issues. I thought I had fixed the chat, but apparently it is deleting chats. So I updated my browser extension today. I thought I fixed the problem, but apparently I didn't. I'll have to make sure that works next time. Mr. Winkster, I got some ice cream today. Oh, I wish I had some. I haven't had ice cream in a long time. Prince Green, regardless of everything else, we can say The Killer's Game is another big flop for Lionsgate. Oh, yes. There is no doubt whatsoever, okay? No doubt whatsoever that Lionsgate is just killing it, and not in the good way. It's killing it, meaning it's killing its own company. None of their films have been doing much of anything. Rob D, the economy is just straight up not there to have 10 movies hit $1 billion in 1 year, like in 2019. Kind of crazy to think about that, right? King and Rumsky, thoughts on David Zaslav's job performance so far? Don't really care. I don't think Warner Brothers is that drastically different than what it was before. I honestly am not seeing much of a difference. Hardwick says, the best browser is Vivaldi. It's an updated version of what Opera used to be back before the Chinese bought it and turned it into a Chrome clone. I don't know. I've been liking it so far. I think I've tried Vivaldi a little bit, and I don't know. I don't like that one nearly as much. I like Brave, but then Brave has run into some compatibility issues from time to time. Cthulhu, does The Passion of the Christ count as a documentary? No. No. I mean, obviously, we're talking about, real events, but at the same time, yeah, different style of filmmaking for sure, Cthulhu. Let's see, Laura, I have no opinion or knowledge of browsers. So you should. Everyone has a browser by choice. Prince Green, I can't stand Tay-Tay either. Hope the Swifties don't attack me. Oh, man. Let's see. Cthulhu, anyone want to tell him he's not showing the list? Was it not showing? Oh, wait, it wasn't showing? What? I have no idea what could be seen or not be seen. I'm sorry. I thought y'all could see that. I thought I was being clever. I think it's because I did a browser capture versus a screen capture. Maybe that's what happened. I'm sorry, guys. Gary Banjo Sandwich says, Time Bandits canceled after 1 season. Can't say I'm that surprised. Basically filming with the lens cap on. Oh, boy. Print screen. One time ChatGPT told me The Flash made over $600 million. True story. Yeah, it does not always get things right. You have to be very specific with what you ask it. Cthulhu, Air flubbed its release by their title choice. What normal person would look at a title and say, yes, I'll check that out. Agreed. Keely Chow, what is up? Rob D, Daily Wire can make it right by including special features in the Daily Wire release, like deleted scenes, outtakes, and special commentaries. I think that would go a long way. And to not make people wait for that either. In fact, the way they can make that right is by putting it available this weekend. Like, as soon as possible, put it on their platform. Laura says, if you want to understand the Swifties, watch her 15-minute film All Too Well. Couple falls deeply in love and then breaks up over a minor understanding. So revealing. Interesting. We good. Okay. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Let's see. Killy Chow, what's going on? Everyone is doing fantastico. Fantastico. Or at least that's what I believe. I hope that they're doing well. Everything seems to be correct. All right, let me see if I can actually fix this on the fly. I say that, and yet something tells me... Oh, man. There we go. There we go. Okay. Maybe that's why it wasn't turned on before. All right. Enhance. Enhance. And now let's see. Let me make sure there's no comments that I'm missing. It does not look to be the case. So I will try to do this so super quick. I said with my swooshing sounds. I don't even know what I'm doing. Tonight has just been a stream of mistakes and errors. There we go. All right. So hopefully that fixes that problem. Oh, look at that. Cool. Hopefully it stops deleting the comments. I hope it stops deleting the comments. Let's see. Hardwick. Over the past few years, almost every brand of ice cream has been engaging in hidden inflation by using less real cream and replacing it with increasing amounts of carrageenan and guargum. Interesting. Yeah. I don't think I ever want to actually sit down and look up what's in the food that I'm eating. I know that I should. I know it's a terrible thing for me to say. But then at the same time, I just... how terrifying it might be to actually, do those things. Oh, man. I know that I should. But I feel like if I ever started it, I would just be going full bore into it. And I just don't know if my family could handle that. I don't know if my family could handle that. All right. Let's now go into some reviews here. Okay. Let's get things back on track. So first, let's talk about Am I Racist? So here is my review over on criticalist.com. Amazing website, by the way, if you have never used it before. It is a free speech platform for movie reviewers and also just a very great, small, tight-knit community of film aficionados, television aficionados, and soon to be, hopefully, he said, Blaine's been promising this now for ages, that eventually we'll get books and comics and games and all that kind of stuff. But hey, he needs love and support for that to actually happen. So go check out Criticalist and sign up today. Not sponsored by them, never been sponsored by them. I just love their platform and have been on it almost since day one. And I can't believe it's been almost a year that I've been using the platform. I've never written as many reviews in my entire life than since I actually started the platform. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm not doing as many dedicated movie review videos. I'm taking these for my live streams instead, because when I soon as I get home from the theater, I just want to sit down and just write out a review. And so, therefore, that is what I did with this. So let's go into it. So first, Matt Walsh's Am I Racist? Review. First off, my score, 75% rad score. No 50% decent scores here. Gary Banjo Edwards Worthington, but 75 rad score. I thought it was a very, very solid film, and let's go into why I thought that was the case. When Matt Walsh made the film, What is a Woman, back in 2022, I said that I thought it was the most important movie to come out that year, and also for this entire generation, as he tackled the insanity that is gender ideology, and I was being pushed onto children, especially in the United States. This year, Walsh is back once again, donning skinny jeans and a hilariously bad man bun wig, as he now attempts to expose the scam that is modern DEI, anti-racism grift, that is impacting several major businesses and industries. Though I believe the film falls short of the greatness that was What is a Woman, in many ways, it is still a solid and important film for our time. I still very much hold to these thoughts that I wrote just a few days ago, because I think when you look at the importance of both movies, What is a Woman is just so much more important because of who it's impacting, right? Impacting children versus DEI, which is much more impactful of adults, working people. And it obviously doesn't make it any less important, but I think all of us could admit, yeah, as far as what do I think is much more of an existential threat to the safety of others, I think that most people would say, yeah, the whole gender ideology thing, much more of a pressing issue, though both need to be addressed. And so I'm happy that they did that movie first, and now they're going after this movie. That being said, though I thought that that was a much more important film and a better film because of how much it just helped to expose the issue, and it felt more like it was trying to solve a problem, right? To figure out a problem and solve it and expose it. Whereas in the case of Am I Racist, it felt much more like a dedicated comedy. And so that's why, even though I do think that What Is a Woman is a better film, this movie is much funnier. And it's because when it comes down to the nonsense that is portrayed on screen and the interviews that he gets, the amount of money he had to pay these people just to come out to have an interview exposes that grift to such a degree and does so effectively and so comedically that it is one of the most enjoyable experiences I think most people have at the theater itself. So just to kind of unpack that first paragraph a bit, jumping back into the review. The best parts of this movie are without a doubt the conversations that Walsh has with various people while donning his disguise and just revealing they were able to be. Whether he was talking with race baiting experts, charging thousands of dollars to be interviewed or brought in to teach a lesson, or if they were bikers in a deep South biker bar speaking to how ridiculous racism is as a concept, Walsh was able to get excellent content that was both entertaining and enlightening. My favorite conversation that he was able to have was probably with a black owner of an auto repair shop who was so refreshingly kind, humble, and honest about his own lived experience in a country he refused to see as racist and showed no interest in the race-baiting literature that Walsh offered to give him for free. Instead, he was fine to just read his Bible. Seriously, the guy was a legend, and that definitely is my favorite part of the movie. There's just an amazing sequence between him and this owner of a auto repair shop in a very deep black neighborhood, and he's bringing up all these questions. He's asking about, hey, do you think that you live in a racist country? And he says no. Like, he talks about just how many amazing things that he has been able to get in his life, and it's because of the fact that he lives in this country, and also the fact that he owns his own business. And it's great just to have that conversation there because there's that levity to it, but it also gives you that hope in humanity. And honestly, he's the biggest hero in this movie, I think. And if we lived in a just world, that would be the guy that in a future administration would be getting like the Medal of Freedom, would be getting accolades, right, for just being a normal person, living their life, and just being a good person. So if you've seen the film, you know exactly who I'm talking about. One big thing about this movie compared to Walsh's last film, was honestly the tone and messaging. Whereas in What Is a Woman, there is a clear through line and question that was filled out with several interviews spanning various opinions and really helped to expose the evil of gender ideology, this movie honestly felt lacking in many ways. I don't know if they couldn't get as many people to interview or if they wanted to focus more on the comedic journey that Walsh took in becoming a trained DEI expert, but the film just didn't have the same gravitas or effectiveness and honestly felt a bit empty at times. While I can appreciate the fact that they probably had to do a lot of things differently this time around because of the attention given to the last film, and that it was likely harder to find an activist who weren't charging an arm and a leg to be spoken to, that does not change the fact that the film could have been much more effective and enlightening with more content like it. And I definitely still hold to this, right? Again, it goes down to that level of the importance of What Is a Woman versus this movie. But I do think that my opinion has maybe changed only slightly, in that I do think the more I think about the movie, that I appreciate it more as the comedy that it actually is. Right? You can see why, because of the topic being so much more serious in the case of What Is a Woman, that film needed to be more serious. It needed to have that many more interviews. It needed to have that much more of a through line to really get that point home. Whereas with this one, the concept is already just so ridiculous on its surface, and it's not nearly as much of a dire threat in many ways, right, to children, as is in the case of What Is a Woman. Where this film then was able to be more funny, was able to be funnier. It was able to have that greater comedic element to it, and so therefore did not have to be as polished in certain areas, did not have to have that through line nearly as much. But I definitely feel like, this movie is still a lot of fun, and I don't want to downplay the fact that this film is indeed a straight-up comedy. All in all, the film does deliver on several fronts. It was well shot, well edited, and the work of Matt Walsh being able to speak with these people without breaking character and coming across as authentic as he does is truly a gift that I hope he continues to bring to more projects in the future. It will be interesting to see if and when another documentary comes about, since now, once again, he has been put on the map and will be that much more recognizable. And I honestly do wonder, what is the next thing that he is going to go after? I think that these last two films have been the biggest of all, but when I saw that the footage was out there of him at the DNC this year, part of me did wonder, I wonder if he's trying to go after after an angle with that, right? Of maybe trying to focus more on the exposure of political parties, but I think that ultimately was unfortunately just a way to try to promote his movie. And again, kudos to him for doing that, but that goes back to those numbers, as I mentioned earlier, right? Only 345,000 tickets, roughly, based off a $13 ticket price in the domestic marketplace is not nearly as much as I think as maybe they had been anticipating, especially with the numbers they have on their network. But still a lot of fun. If you were looking to have a good time and laugh, this is definitely one film that has it in spades. There are several parts when, though played for laughs, do still leave one sad to think about how the United States exists as it does today, and that so many people actually believe and buy into the garbage that the film exposes. Only wish that they had approached its film with the same sense of seriousness that they did with the last film, though since DEI is not directed at kids or is harmful to their mental health, I do think that most people will have a lot of fun with this movie. And again, I definitely still hold to that fact. I definitely think that this film could have done that, but I do think that, they probably did make the right choice in this because they were able to really focus much more on those laughs. And so those are my thoughts on Am I Racist? What do you all have to say? Let's see. Prince Green, sometimes it's just better not to know, says Prince Green. Oh boy. King Adremsky, all this talk of ice cream is getting me hungry. Laura saying, the one day I'm home when you stream and the wife just came home super chatty. It's all good, Laura. Thanks for stopping by. Prince Green, Matt Walsh kind of looks like Jared Leto on that poster. He does. That is a true statement. Hardwick, I'm sure to still have a bunch of carrageenan or guar gum, though. Okay. Prince Green, Matt Walsh's next movie, am I pro or anti-beards? That would be interesting. Cthulhu, my apologies for excessive messages, but can you talk about the box office opening for Penguin this week? For Penguin? What do you mean for Penguin? There was no box office for Penguin. You mean the series? That's a streaming show. Is that even out right now? I'm very confused. I am very, very confused. Orange Hat says, gotta go soon. Got some rants that need unleashing. Absolutely, Orange Hat. Hardwig, that last one wasn't meant for you to read. Well, you should have tagged the person that it was meant to read. Cthulhu, my apologies. Thought it was a movie, not a TV show. Nope. It is a movie. Sorry, it is a show. It is a show. So that will not be happening. That will not be happening this week. I'm sorry to say. I don't really cover the shows much. Those because of just how awful those numbers are and how unreliable those numbers are. There's just no way I can make heads or tails of that stuff. Because let's see, there isn't a whole lot, I think, coming out. So let's see, we've got Never Let Go, Transformers 1: The Substance. So really nothing this weekend. And then the 27th, next weekend after that, we've got Azrael, Bagman, Lee, Megalopolis, Wild Robot, and My Old Ass, which the guys over at Film Threat loved. So I'm actually excited for that. It's a Amazon MGM Studios release with Aubrey Plaza, and I had no interest in it, but apparently it's really, really good. Very high praise for them. I take the Film Threat guys very seriously, so I am planning on seeing that. Wild Robot actually looks like it could be okay. Megalopolis, I'm just interested. It's a Lionsgate release, which means chances are it's going to fail. Chances are it's going to be terrible because Lionsgate has just not really had anything going on for it. But at the same time, some of the stories surrounding how the film was made, could lead to some very interesting things. Lee looks awful. It just looks like modern feminist propaganda nonsense. Just spare us, please. And then the week after that is when we will finally get Joker 2. Joker Folie à Deux, which I understand is getting a lot of attention as far as the opening not being very strong. But a couple things to keep in mind. We are still, as you can see, a few weeks out from its release. And even if it does only open to around $60 million, yes, that's definitely $40 million or so less than the $100+ million or so it made opening weekend when you adjust for inflation. I think it'd probably be over $100 million at this point. There's still a lot to be had there. There's still, I think, it really depends on whether the film is good. I really do think. And we don't know for sure whether that budget actually did balloon up to, I think some people said, to $200 million. It's hard to say. Let me see if I can try to even look that up to see if it's even being reported at this point in time. Oh, there it is. $200 million being reported by Variety. Oof. Lady Gaga getting $12 million. Oh, goodness me. Oh, 12 million. Is she really worth $12 million? Again, I don't know contracts all that well with the actors, but I don't know. That seems a bit high. That seems a bit high. All right, we're about to get into our last of the movie reviews here. Hardwick saying, did you watch the clip of Paul White? No, but I did see the image. So thank you for posting a picture, because I don't have a lot of time, mental capacities to remember to watch things like that. So thank you for the picture. Pictures are much easier for me to look at. And yeah, it looked funny. Rob D, we need an entire pessimistic stream in that nasally voice. I don't think you want that. Prince Green, sorry, I can't bring myself to watch a movie called My Old Butt. Yes, I agree, but they said it. Hardwick, speaking of Aubrey Plaza, is Agatha all along going to be F&T homework? Unfortunately, yes. This is Hell Week for us, everybody, because we've got a Rings of Power episode to watch, and we've got 2 episodes of Agatha. Which, hey, we still have time, Disney, so if you want to change that title one more time, go ahead and do it. Prince Green, I am not an Aubrey Plaza fan. Her snarky humor just comes off as more annoying to me. Easily the worst part of Operation Fortune, in my opinion. Bro, no. Aubrey Plaza actually was good in Operation Fortune. I actually think because she had a competent director behind the scenes, that actually toned her performance down, and she was very effective in that role. I thought she was actually very effective. King and Remsky, do you predict Joker 2 will be a good movie, or, again, if the critics are the ones that are giving it bad ratings, that does not mean a whole lot to me. They also hated the first movie, if you remember. They were very critical of that film. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Gary Banjo Sandwich saying, the pre-scores are in for Joker 2 at a decent 50%. Well, you know what that means, Gary? It means it can't be trusted, because that's your territory, and you can't be trusted. Master of Gaming, what is going on? Hail to you. All right, let's go into the next film I can review here. So this is a film I actually got to see 2 days ago, and not a very long review here. I just realized how short the review is that I posted. But the movie Trap, this is the new film. I say new film, newish film from like a month ago maybe at this point. I honestly don't know. It's M. Night Shyamalan, so you know what that means. It's going to be a film about a twist. But here's the big twist when it comes to the film Trap, and don't worry, it's really not spoiling the film because this was already put out in the trailer, okay? The big twist is that the guy who has the daughter he's bringing to this concert is actually a serial killer. And he's the one who's being put into this trap that they've decided to set at this pop concert. And everyone's in on it, apparently, including the merchandise salesmen. The people who sell t-shirts at this event also just know everything that the FBI is doing. And let's just say, yeah, I think this movie is stupid and ridiculous. But at the same time, I have at least one positive thing to say about it. So first off, I gave it a bogus 35% score. And the only reason why it's as high as 35% for me is because of Josh Hartnett, okay? So definitely glad that I missed this film in theaters, as it seems to be nothing more than an attempt by M. Night to give his daughter a platform to increase her brand and name recognition. My score for this film is only as high as it is because Josh Hartnett gives an amazing performance that is worth noting, and I still hold to that. He did great in the film, he was very entertaining, and he did a good job playing a crazy guy losing his grip on reality, struggling with a clear OCD condition that is kind of feeding into his persona as a serial killer. And I thought that all that stuff was very effective. I thought all that stuff worked very well. He did a great job with it. Some of the other actors that are supporting him, like his family, for instance, are okay. I forgot just how old Allison Pill got. That's the woman who plays his wife. I remember seeing her in a show on Broadway. I remember when she was in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She was the drummer in the band, basically. So you all know who Allison Pill is. Yeah, I was like, oh man, I didn't realize how old she has gotten, but that's what time does. And again, that's just kind of a random segue there. The point is, she was okay. She was fine in the film. The real takeaway, though, is Josh Hartnett. A story that could have been great, but the big twist is given away by the trailers and too easily in the film itself. Too much of the film is watching and listening to M. Night's daughter performing instead of developing something else. On top of that, her acting, especially towards the end, is horrendous. All in all, this movie is lazy, predictable, nonsensical, poorly written, and honestly, I could go on. If you want to see Hartnett give a great performance, though, at least there's that. And I would say, yeah, this is, I think, a film worth watching on streaming for free, not paying anything for it. Would not pay a dime for this movie because I don't think it's worth it. And it's hardly worth your time. As I said, the only reason why you would ever want to waste any time on this film, on this project, would be simply to support or at least to see the performance of Josh Hartnett. When I say that this movie honestly just feels like a self-promotion for M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, there are several sequences lasting many, many minutes. It felt like almost like a quarter of the movie where it's just nothing other than shots from the crowd, like from where Josh Hartnett and his daughter's character are, watching the concert. Remember, the concert is real-life daughter of M. Night performing as a pop singer with the costume changes and the design and all the dances. And it was just very, very annoying and very, very cringe to boot. I cannot say I recommend this film less than much else this year. I know I'm giving it like a heinous review and I gave it a bogus score, but again, I think that's just how good Josh Hartnett is in the movie. And there are a couple other elements that I definitely think show that M. Night still has some skill as far as a visual filmmaker. Unfortunately, he's just lost his talent as a writer. I think he got so obsessed with trying to create so many different twists and elements of twists in his movies that that's just now become who he is. I remember when the film Old, for instance, came out not too long ago, and there was a twist that happens with that movie, and it was just so predictable and just so by the numbers and also just so poorly told that all you could wonder is, man, how is this guy still being greenlit to make these movies? He's obviously being given tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, when you add all of these things together. And this is the kind of content that he gives us. I know that this is definitely a movie that has a lot of mixed reactions to it. Right now, in fact, the audience score with 39 voters, actually. The 39 people, that's a very large number on the Criticalist platform, by the way, has this film at a 63% rad score. It was actually getting very close to creeping into the most excellent on average. My score, I think, bumped it down a little bit, and that's why there is at least one downvote for the score. But you've got, again, a lot of decents. You've got some rads on there, some decents, a bogus. So thank you, Johnny Talks Hoarder, for being honest there. Another decent. You've got a bogus, which I think is absolutely correct. And the more I think about this movie, honestly, the more I hate it, because it really is. Again, the people who are giving this most excellent scores, I don't know what y'all are smoking. Obviously, you can enjoy whatever it is that y'all want to enjoy. I can never take that away from anyone. But what I can say is that this movie, not so good. Again, if you want to see M. Night's daughter being showed as a pop star, and that takes up a quarter of the film, hey, more power to you. But that's about all you get, which is not much. Anyway, what say you guys? What say you guys? See, Mr. Winkster says, I'll give Joker 2 the benefit of the doubt. Maybe. Master Gaming, Jeremy Johns reviewed Am I Racist, unlike Chris Stuckman. Agreed. Well, again, Chris Stuckman is no longer serious. I'm sorry. Like, I have not watched a Stuckman video in years now because he went off the rails. He became his own worst enemy because he bought into Hollywood. He basically became a Hollywood shill to try to get people to help produce his movie. And I'm sorry, but that to me is such an egregious betrayal of the trust of his subscribers who started watching him and supporting him as a movie reviewer, for him to then say, oh yeah, well now that I've got enough money because you guys have been supporting me. And I also want to point out some of that money he's been getting is from a Patreon account that I think he still actually has open right now, where people are either willingly or unwittingly paying him money to get perks that they have not gotten in years. Many years now. Maybe even, I don't want to be crash to say almost a decade, but let's just say he's been promising content to subscribers that he has not been providing. So some of that money may have actually been used. Still has a Patreon. I've actually reported his account a couple times. I'm like, yeah, he's promising things that he's not providing to people. No updates last time I checked. But yeah, that's why Jeremy Johns is right now, I think, the best everyday movie reviewer out there on YouTube. Him and Critical Drinker are killing it with their reviews right now. Prince Green, never saw Trap, but that sales guy seemed to know way too much. Like if Robert Pattinson in Tenet was a salesman instead. Yeah, seriously. It's like, wait, the t-shirt guy knows about the FBI's plan? Oh, yeah, okay. Hardwick, you gave away the twist. Oh, man. What a spoiler. What a spoiler. Oh, man. Let's see. Gary Banjo Sandwich says 35%. Ooh. Yep. Mr. Wingster. Oh, yeah. The Trap's third act was garbage. Agreed. Prince Screen. Josh Hartnett as my man. Great in Operation Fortune, and his role at Oppenheimer was my literally me character. Oh, yeah. Operation Fortune. Great shout. Hardwick, did you see that movie Bob called Jeremy John's review Am I Racist? His villain origin? Good grief, dude. That's so funny. Like, the fact that there are people who are trying to cancel him or freaking out over that, like, it had the most dislikes that I've ever seen on a video of his. It's like, that's how broken so many people's minds are, that they can't even allow another person to even review. He didn't even give it the biggest review or the biggest grade that he ever could. He gave it, it's a good time, no alcohol required. That means it's a solid movie. But he didn't give it his Blu-ray score or Awesome-tacular score. I mean, come on. It's crazy. Hardwick, who is a better singer, Shyamalan's daughter or Taylor Swift? I mean, I don't like either of those choices, but I would have to say if I have only one choice and I can't get out of it, then I guess Taylor Swift. But that doesn't mean that she's good. Laura says, what is up with Aubrey Plaza hate speech? She's adorable. She's not everybody, though. I think it's because she has a very specific kind of personality that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Would be my guess. Snow Golem hanging out over on Odyssey. What's going on? Welcome. Prince Green, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is pretty easy on the eyes, in my opinion. Prince Green, get out of here. Get out of here. Get your mind out the gutter. One Punch Man Tolkien fan, what's up? Oh, wait. I did see Knock at the Cabin, but that movie also sucked. Agreed. Yeah, I forgot. Wasn't that an M. Night movie, too? That's a movie I got hate for because I did not like that movie at all. I thought that movie was complete garbage, and there were people who, for some reason, liked it. Sounds like a cult, says Abomination. Yep. Odin is Swifty confirmed. No. No. Never. Never, ever, ever, ever. All right. One more review, and then we will wrap things up for the evening. I don't want to overstream The Man with the Orange Hat too much tonight, but I did want to get a last review in because, okay, this is another film I've got a lot of things to say about, okay? So let's talk about it. I'm actually seeing movies again. This is fun. It's fun for there to be stuff to talk about at the box office. So this was actually last night. I was able to go see the film Speak No Evil. As you all know, typically not a horror fan myself, but I do like thrillers. I do like films that deal much more with the human condition and much more with human interactions, human characters, right? Anything that deals with the ghostly, demonic, no thank you. I stay away from that stuff with a 10-foot pole. Patooey, I spit at those movies, okay? But this movie, okay, is the kind of movie I typically like. Thriller, featuring James McAvoy, who honestly is one of the best actors working in Hollywood right now. And it is a crime that this guy has not been given more attention from awards shows. And as you all know, there's a certain award show called the Oscars that has become a huge joke for many, many years now. But honestly, even though, as you can see from my score, I did give it a 59% decent score, I do think that it is a role that deserves some nomination for the Ravens. So if you want to get some early nominations in for the Ravens, there is a ballot going around somewhere. I forget exactly where last time it was posted, but you can start to put some early nominations in. We'll kind of collect a pool of nominees and then have an official list. And then when people do their official nominating platforms or nominating ballots later in the year, you at least have like a list to look at and remind yourself of the films that came out in a given year. But anyway, let's dive into this review. I did give it a 59% decent score because that's really what it was. It was decent. There were some really fun elements to the film. I thought that the buildup of the story especially was very effective. And of course that performance, but it unfortunately has a lot of other issues going on with it, and we'll get into that right now. All right, back into the review. Just got back from the theater, and Speak No Evil left me with mixed feelings. The highlight of the film, without a question, is James McAvoy. He continues to prove that he's one of the most talented actors in Hollywood today. His performance in Split earned him well-deserved praise, and here again, he is clearly the standout, elevating the movie with his nuanced portrayal, and I still hold to that view even these hours later because he is the best part of the movie, and I wouldn't even just say he's the best part in a subjective sense. He is objectively very, very good. The rest of the cast also performs admirably well. In films that feature child actors, there's always the risk of their performances falling flat, but that isn't the case here. Both young actors deliver strong performances, especially the one playing Ant, who shines in several key scenes as a character who does not talk. And of course, the course of the film, you figure out why that is the case. Not that that's much of a spoiler there, because most people with a brain could probably figure that out. He does, I think, a very good job in portraying someone who is not verbal, but is still able to communicate in his own way, showing, obviously, he has seen some things, he has gone through some things, and he does that job, I think, very well. On the technical side, the pacing, cinematography, and overall atmosphere are very effective. This is a slow burn thriller, with the narrative gradually building towards an impactful reveal. The tension is palpable, and the filmmakers succeed in creating a sense of unease. However, the film stumbles when it comes to the decisions made by the main characters. Their actions, particularly regarding their trust in strangers and their baffling willingness to overlook increasingly bizarre behavior, often defy logic. This undermines the suspense as the parents repeatedly make decisions that feel absurd and frustratingly unrealistic. And boy, oh boy, I don't need to tell you, and this has been the biggest criticism of the film, and for good reason, that the characters in this movie are just stupid. You know those old tropes of those horror films where you've got the kids who are making the worst decisions possible, running into the wrong location? It reminds me of that, was it the Geico commercial, or there was a commercial that was trying to sell something, and they did a horror film where the teenagers were like running into the shed where all the sharp objects were, running literally right in front of the serial killer, and the guy even takes off his mask like, what in the heck are these kids doing? That's what it kind of felt like at times, where, okay, there's all these warning signs going off about something's not quite right with James McAvoy's character, there's something weird going on, something nefarious going on, and yet they continue to trust even their child in the care of this couple, this very weird couple who live in the middle of nowhere. So, again, very unrealistic there and very infuriating, but you do have some good performances there, and I think the tension is also still there too. A major weakness of the film, though, also lies in the portrayal of the husband. Throughout the movie, he is passive, lacking the strength or resolve one would expect from a character tasked with protecting his family. This emasculation never really develops or evolves, which makes it difficult to empathize with him or care about his fate. While this portrayal could be read as commentary on modern masculinity and its perceived fragility, it makes it for an unsatisfying character arc, leaving the audience disconnected from his journey. Still hold to that as well. It was pretty abysmal, just how poorly he, as a character, was. The actor did a fine job in portraying that role, but yeah, continuously getting emasculated by his wife for various reasons. There's certain subplots that go on with their characters. You get a backstory as far as their relationship, what's going on in their relationship, but every single thing basically just continues to make him come off as emasculated. And anytime something of action needs to be done, really the best thing that he can do is break a leg. And that's what I'll put it at that. That's like the most heroic thing that is done in the movie, and every other point along the way, he just fails, including at the very end, where it leads to a very interesting ending. Some would say an appropriate ending to certain characters' stories, but at the same time, also one that just reiterates that point once again, that he really does not grow much over the course of the film. Overall, this movie has its bright spots, particularly in the performances and technical craftsmanship, but weak character development and frustrating story choices prevent it from being a truly great film. There's some enjoyment to be found, though it's often due to the sheer absurdity of the characters' decisions. Yeah, there's moments that I'm laughing in this movie. There's moments that I'm feeling thrilled and even scared to a certain degree. Again, not terrified scared, but oh man, things are about to go down type scare, right? The thrill rides. That stuff is here. There's a couple of jump scares as well. Nothing that is necessarily creepy to look at, but more of the, kind of that cheap jump scare with a loud noise here or there. That being said, there are some fun moments in the movie. I think that there will be a lot of people that enjoy it. Going over to the critical scores, 16 votes right now, 66% rad score is currently the rating of this movie. Going into some other reviews, obviously giving it a 59% score, not the 80% most excellent score. I think that this review from Vex Electronica is a good one, 20% bogus. I gave it a little bit higher because I do think that the acting, especially from James McAvoy, is just phenomenal. But yeah, mostly mixed scores here. Another decent score, a lot of rads. Another decent score here, a bogus score here, and then a 50% decent score from Crisco. You all know how I feel about those 50s, especially from certain Gary named individuals here on the channel. But speak no evil. I think that you might have some fun. Box office for this film has not been the best, but also has not been terrible. And you could do a lot worse at the box office right now. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the show tonight, getting into these last comments. Abomination, Odin trying to rig the awards. Not at all. Not at all. Hardwick, I didn't recognize James McAvoy in that poster image. He looked like Hugh Jackman there to me, and he got jacked for the film. So, yeah, I could see that. Mr. Wingster, well, I got my cookie dough ice cream as a treat. Good night, everyone. Oh, I wish. Congratulations. Mr. Wingster says, Odin, you should watch the original Speak No Evil film. It's pretty recent. Yeah, I know that was a remake of another film. Laura, Odin, why don't we get in the running car? That's right. That commercial was just so funny. It was so clever. Kane Rumsky, but there's a running car right over there. Abomination, where do we go? There's two directions. I can hear a chainsaw down the left. Let's go left. Hardwick, have you seen the recent Taylor Swift Shake It Off parody music video from Louder with Crowder? It's brutal and hilarious. I have not. Don't worry about sending it to me, though. I won't have time to watch it. Prince Green, the husband in Speak No Evil sounds like the type of dude to wear a cardigan and drink Starbucks. Yep. I think that's accurate. Cthulhu, why don't we have a new Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street movie this year? Did all Hollywood forget what this time of year you expect? I don't understand the modern day. I'm so happy that they didn't. Do you really want to have another one of those movies? They don't know how to make those films anymore. The Halloween film was destroyed by that kind of filmmaking. So, all right. Anyway, that's going to be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the late, delayed, weird start. But for those that did finally catch the stream and stuck with me long enough to get the stream up and running, I do appreciate y'all very much. Laura saying here, hey, a cardigan is a sensible wardrobe choice. Where's that from? I feel like that's from something. Oh, man. Hopefully I get to see the answer before the stream ends. Beetlejuice 2 might have done better around Halloween. I agree. I think that would have been a perfect Halloween release. But there's definitely some movies that are set to be released in October. There were a lot of them. They had a lot of previews for those types of movies in before Speak No Evil, and so I think that's definitely going to be something that is to look forward to as far as those that are horror film fans. But anyway, with all of that, from the mind of Shorty Short, man, I feel like it's from something else though, Laura. I feel like it is. Cthulhu saying good night to Prince Screen and to everyone out there. I gotta go get a little bit of dessert. I have no ice cream, but I got some Honey Nut Cheerios, so at least there's that. Anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, a blessed Monday. And let me think. I'll see y'all on Friday Night Tights. There might be a Christian panel on Carrie Smith's channel this week on Wednesday. But I also might be going to see a film with Ian McKellen in it called The Critic. It's called The Critic with Ian McKellen. And immediately I'm like, yeah, I got to see that. He's a theater critic in the film, not a movie critic, but still, I love a film with Ian McKellen. So anyway, all that being said, you guys are wonderful. Have an amazing day. And as always, God bless. Now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illick and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy, shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started, and also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing, and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a blessed August, and as always, God bless.